April 14th, 1912. A calm, freezing night in the North Atlantic. The ocean was flat, the sky perfectly clear, and cutting through that silent water was the most famous ship ever built. RMS Titanic. A ship so large, so luxurious, that people believed it was unsinkable. But just before midnight, a dark shape appeared in the darkness ahead. An iceberg. Within hours, the most advanced ship on Earth would disappear beneath the ocean. More than 1,500 people would lose their lives. And a question would echo through history. Was the Titanic disaster truly an accident, or the result of a chain of deadly mistakes? Tonight, we uncover the truth behind one of the greatest tragedies ever recorded. At the start of the 20th century, crossing the Atlantic was a competition. Shipping companies raced to build bigger, faster, more luxurious ships, and one company wanted to dominate them all: White Star Line. Their masterpiece was Titanic. Built in the giant shipyards of Harland and Wolff, the ship stretched nearly 269 meters long and weighed over 46,000 tons. It was a floating city. Titanic had electric elevators, lavish dining halls, a swimming pool, and one of the most beautiful staircases ever built on a ship. For first-class passengers, the journey felt like living in a luxury hotel. But beneath the elegance, there was a hidden risk. Titanic carried only 20 lifeboats, enough for around half of the people on board. Why? Because the designers believed the ship was practically impossible to sink. It had 16 watertight compartments. If one flooded, the others would keep the ship afloat. At least, that was the theory. Titanic departed from Southampton on April 10, 1912. Its destination was New York City. On board were more than 2,200 people: millionaires, workers, immigrants, and crew members. For 4 days, the voyage was smooth and comfortable. But on April 14th, warnings began arriving. Radio operators received messages from nearby ships: ice fields, floating icebergs, dangerous conditions ahead. One message came from the ship SS Californian, warning that massive ice was directly in Titanic's path. Yet the ship continued forward, at nearly full speed. That night, the ocean was unusually calm. No wind, no waves, which made icebergs even harder to see, and far more dangerous. Then came the moment that would change history. 11:40 p.m. High above the deck, lookout Frederick Fleet spotted something in the darkness. A massive iceberg, directly ahead. He rang the warning bell, 3 sharp strikes, and called the bridge. Iceberg, right ahead. Inside the bridge, First Officer William Murdoch reacted instantly. He ordered the ship to turn and the engines to reverse. But the Titanic was enormous, and momentum is powerful. Seconds later, the iceberg scraped along the side of the ship. Below the waterline, steel plates bent and split open. Seawater rushed into the ship's compartments. Within minutes, engineers realized something terrifying. The damage was fatal. Titanic would sink. At first, most passengers felt nothing more than a small vibration. Many believed it was nothing. But deep inside the ship, water was rising quickly. Captain Edward Smith soon learned the truth. The ship had less than 3 hours. Crew members began preparing lifeboats, but another problem appeared. Many passengers refused to board. The ship still looked perfectly safe. Many lifeboats were lowered half empty. Meanwhile, third-class passengers struggled to reach the upper decks. Confusion spread. panic slowly followed. Distress signals were finally sent into the night sky, and one ship answered, the passenger liner RMS Carpathia. But it was more than 90 kilometers away and racing through dangerous ice fields. By 2 a.m., the front of Titanic was already deep underwater. The back of the ship lifted high into the air. More than 1,500 people were still trapped aboard. Then, the unthinkable happened. The ship broke apart. At 2:20 in the morning, Titanic vanished beneath the Atlantic Ocean. The water temperature was below freezing. Most people in the water survived only minutes. Hours later, Carpathia arrived to rescue the survivors. Out of more than 2,200 passengers and crew, only 705 lived. For decades, many believed Titanic sank in one piece. But in 1985, ocean explorer Robert Ballard finally located the wreck, nearly 3,800 meters beneath the ocean's surface. And what he discovered changed everything. The ship had broken into two massive sections before sinking. Further investigation revealed a tragic combination of mistakes. The ship was traveling too fast. Ice warnings were not fully taken seriously. There were not enough lifeboats, and evacuation procedures were poorly prepared. Titanic didn't sink because of one mistake. It sank because of many small decisions. Today, the wreck of RMS Titanic rests in darkness at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean, a silent monument to the lives lost that night. But the tragedy forced the world to change. New laws required ships to carry enough lifeboats for everyone. Continuous radio monitoring became mandatory, and international ice patrols began guarding the North Atlantic. More than 100 years later, Titanic still fascinates the world, because its story is more than a disaster. It's a lesson about human confidence, about overlooked warnings, and about how even the greatest creations can fail. So ask yourself, could the Titanic disaster have been prevented? Or was it a tragedy waiting to happen? If this story moved you, explore the real survivor accounts, study the evidence, and remember the lives behind the headlines. Because the Titanic was called unsinkable, but history reminds us of a simple truth. Nature doesn't care about human confidence, and the ocean always has the final word.